Dawn of the Gods, the beginning of the Olympian gods. In the beginning, there was nothing but chaos. The world was an empty void, with no land, no sky, and no sea. From this darkness, two ancient beings emerged, Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. Together, they created the Titans, powerful gods who were destined to rule the universe. Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth, lived in harmony at first. But over time, Uranus grew cruel and tyrannical. He feared his children and decided to imprison them in the dark depths of Gaia, the earth, where they could not escape. His actions caused Gaia great pain, as she loved her children. She begged Uranus to release them, but he refused. Finally, in her sorrow, Gaia turned to her youngest son, Cronos, for help. She gave him a sickle, a sharp and powerful weapon, and told him to strike down his father. Cronos, full of anger and ambition, waited for the right moment. One day, when Uranus came to lay with Gaia, Cronos attacked. With one swift blow, he castrated his father, and Uranus fell, screaming in pain. As Uranus fell, he cursed his son Cronos. "You may have defeated me, but you will not escape my fate," he said, his voice trembling with rage. "One of your children will do the same to you, and your bloodline will be doomed forever." With Uranus defeated, Cronos became the ruler of the world. He married his sister, Rhea, and together they had many children. But Cronos, haunted by his father's curse, feared that his own children would overthrow him, just as he had done to Uranus. To protect himself, Cronos swallowed each of his children as soon as they were born. One by one, he swallowed Hestia, Demeter, Hera, and Hades, trapping them in his stomach. Rhea, devastated by the loss of her children, could not bear to lose another. When Zeus, their youngest child, was born, she made a bold plan. She hid him away in a secret cave, far from Cronos' eyes, and gave him a stone wrapped in cloth. Cronos, not realizing the trick, swallowed the stone, believing it was the baby. Zeus grew strong and wise in the cave, hidden from his father's cruel gaze. As he grew, he learned of his siblings trapped inside Cronos. With a heart full of anger and determination, Zeus knew he had to save them. He went to the ancient Titan, Oceanus, who gave him advice on how to defeat Cronos. Zeus went to Metis, the goddess of wisdom, who gave him a potion that would make Cronos vomit up his children. Zeus returned to the palace of Cronos, where his father ruled with an iron fist. Zeus tricked Cronos into drinking the potion. Soon, Cronos felt a terrible pain in his stomach. He vomited up the children he had swallowed, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, and Hades. The siblings, now free, were overjoyed to be reunited, but they knew their battle was just beginning. The gods, led by Zeus, declared war on the Titans. The sky trembled as the earth shook with the force of the battle. Zeus, with his mighty thunderbolt, struck down the Titans one by one. Poseidon, Zeus's brother, wielded his trident, controlling the sea and summoning powerful storms to flood the battlefield. Hades, the god of the underworld, summoned the dead from the depths to fight alongside them. But the Titans were not easily defeated. Cronos, now desperate, fought fiercely against Zeus, his own son. The earth trembled with each blow. Zeus's thunderbolts lit up the sky, while Cronos swung his great sword in fury. The battle was long and brutal, but in the end, Zeus triumphed. He cast Cronos and the Titans into the dark abyss of Tartarus, where they would remain imprisoned forever. With the Titans defeated, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades divided the world among themselves. Zeus took the sky, becoming the king of the gods. Poseidon took the seas, and Hades ruled over the underworld. Together, they ruled the world with great power, but they were not the only ones who would shape the fate of the world. The gods of Olympus now lived on Mount Olympus, a magnificent mountain that reached high into the clouds. It was said that the mountain itself was a place of incredible beauty and power, where the gods could watch over the mortal world below. From there, they would control the fate of the humans and the creatures of the earth. But while the gods were powerful, they were not infallible. Their actions would bring both blessings and curses to the world. The throne of Zeus. Zeus takes the throne of Olympus. After the mighty battle against the Titans, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades stood victorious. The world was theirs to rule, but their journey was far from over. They had defeated their father Cronos and the other Titans, but now they had to decide who would take control of what. Zeus, the eldest son of Cronos and Rhea, took the sky, ruling the heavens. He sat upon a magnificent throne made of gold and marble on the highest peak of Mount Olympus, the great mountain where the gods now lived. It was a place so high that clouds surrounded it, and its gates were made of the finest jewels. The air was filled with the scent of flowers and the sounds of divine music. It seemed like the perfect kingdom for Zeus, the king of the gods. However, not all the gods were happy with Zeus's rule. Hera, his wife and sister, stood by his side as queen, but deep inside, she was troubled. She had always supported Zeus in the past, but now, as his queen, she began to question his loyalty. He had taken control of the sky, the most powerful domain, and it seemed that he had become more distant and more focused on his own power. Hera feared that Zeus might not keep his promises and that he might abandon her for other lovers, as he had done in the past. One evening, as the gods gathered in the grand hall of Olympus, Hera spoke to Zeus with a stern voice. "You sit upon your throne, Zeus, but do you truly remember the promises you made to me?" she asked, her eyes filled with both love and anger. "You promised that we would rule together, but it seems that you care only for your own glory." Zeus, who had always been known for his power and pride, looked at his wife with calmness. "Hera," he said, his voice filled with authority, "I have not forgotten our vows. I gave you the throne by my side, and I will remain loyal to you. Do not doubt me, for I am the king of the gods." But Hera's heart was not at ease. She wondered whether her husband could truly be trusted. The tension between them began to grow, and the other gods watched the scene unfold with uneasy silence. Meanwhile, in another part of Olympus, the gods were divided over other matters. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Ares, the god of war, had always disagreed on many things. Athena, the daughter of Zeus and Metis, valued strategy and wisdom above all else, while Ares, her brother, loved the chaos of battle and the thrill of war. "War is not about strategy," Ares said, his eyes burning with passion. "It is about power and strength. We must be ready to conquer and fight at all costs." But Athena disagreed. "No, Ares," she replied, her voice steady and wise. "War must be fought with thought, with careful planning. It is not just about fighting, but about knowing when to fight." Their argument grew louder, and the other gods began to take sides. Poseidon, who had taken control of the seas, listened carefully but said nothing. Hades, the god of the underworld, observed the arguments from his dark corner, his eyes cold and calculating. Zeus, hearing the noise from the hall, stood up from his throne and walked to the center of the room. The room fell silent as he raised his hand, his voice booming with authority. "Enough," Zeus declared. "We will not allow this division among us. Athena, you will advise me on wisdom and strategy. Ares, your power will be used in the defense of Olympus. But do not forget that the strength of our kingdom lies in unity, not in war alone." But even as Zeus spoke, Hera looked at him with doubt in her eyes. Was Zeus truly the leader the gods needed? Or would his power lead to the downfall of Olympus? She knew that the peace among the gods was fragile, and that the power struggles were just beginning. As the meeting ended, Zeus returned to his throne. But deep within his heart, he knew that his rule would not be easy. His family was divided, and the gods were beginning to question his leadership. The throne of Zeus was not just a symbol of power, it was a seat of conflict, and the challenges of ruling Olympus were only just beginning. The tension was palpable in the air. The gods who had fought beside Zeus now looked at him with a mix of respect and suspicion. The future of Olympus was uncertain, and the battles for control were far from over. Zeus, as powerful as he was, knew that his rule would be tested. Would he be able to keep the gods united? Or would the same power struggles that had torn the Titans apart now threaten to destroy Olympus? The fire of Prometheus. In the early days of Zeus's rule, the world was divided into two realms: the immortal gods of Mount Olympus and the fragile mortals who lived on the earth below. The gods, basking in their divine powers, saw mortals as little more than playthings, beings meant to worship and serve them. But Prometheus, one of the Titans who had sided with Zeus in the Great War, saw humanity differently. Prometheus was a thinker, a creator, and a rebel. Unlike the other gods, he felt pity for the mortals. They lived in darkness, shivering in the cold, unable to defend themselves against wild beasts. He watched from the heights of Olympus as they struggled, their fragile lives short and filled with suffering. While Zeus and the other gods celebrated their victories, Prometheus grew restless. He believed the mortals deserved more. They deserved a chance to thrive, to rise above their misery. One night, as the stars lit up the sky and the halls of Olympus echoed with laughter, Prometheus climbed down the mountain. He stood on the earth, watching the mortals as they huddled together for warmth. Their faces were gaunt, their eyes hollow. It was then that he made his decision. "I will give them fire," he whispered to himself. "It will be their light, their strength, their salvation." But Prometheus knew the risk. Fire was the gods' most precious gift, a symbol of their power and their immortality. To give it to mortals was to challenge Zeus himself. Yet Prometheus was not afraid. He believed in his cause. The theft of fire. Prometheus waited until the gods were distracted. He crept into Hephaestus's forge, the place where the god of fire and craftsmanship created his magnificent weapons. The forge was a marvel, a cavern filled with the heat of 1,000 suns. The air shimmered with sparks, and the walls were lined with tools of every kind. At the heart of the forge burned an eternal flame, its light dancing like a living thing. Prometheus reached out, his hands trembling as he cupped a piece of the divine flame. It was warm, almost alive, and it pulsed with a power that filled him with both awe and fear. He hid the flame inside a hollow reed, protecting it from sight. Then, with swift steps, he carried it down to the mortal world. When Prometheus gave the fire to humanity, everything changed. The mortals, once weak and helpless, grew strong. They used the fire to cook food, to forge tools, and to warm their homes. The dark nights were filled with light, and the shadows of fear began to fade. For the first time, humanity stood tall. They looked to the heavens, no longer trembling, but with hope in their eyes. Zeus's wrath. When Zeus discovered what Prometheus had done, his rage shook the very foundation of Olympus. Lightning flashed across the sky, and thunder roared as the king of the gods summoned Prometheus to answer for his crime. Prometheus stood before Zeus, unflinching. His face was calm, his eyes steady. "I gave them fire because they needed it," he said simply. "They are your creation, Zeus, but they are also your responsibility. Without fire, they would have perished." Zeus's voice thundered through the hall. "You dare defy me? You, a Titan, who should know the cost of rebellion? Fire is ours, Prometheus. It is divine, and you have stolen it to give to those who are beneath us." "They are not beneath us," Prometheus replied. "They are our children, and they deserve a chance to live, not just to survive." Zeus's fury knew no bounds. Then you shall learn the price of your defiance, he declared. You will suffer for eternity as a warning to all who dare to challenge my will. The punishment. Zeus commanded his servants, Kratos, power, and Rhea, force, to chain Prometheus to a great rock on the desolate cliffs of the Caucasus Mountains. The place was barren and cold, far from the warmth of Olympus. The winds howled, and the sky was a dull gray, mirroring the hopelessness of the scene. Prometheus was bound with unbreakable chains, his arms stretched out, his body exposed to the elements. But Zeus's punishment did not end there. Every day, an eagle, the sacred bird of Zeus, descended upon Prometheus. Its sharp talons tore into his flesh, and it devoured his liver. Each night, Prometheus's body healed, only for the torment to begin again the next day. Despite the agony, Prometheus did not cry out. His suffering was immense, but his spirit was unbroken. He looked out over the mortal world, and when he saw the fire burning in their homes, he knew that his sacrifice had been worth it. Reflections of the gods. From their thrones, the gods watched the punishment. Some felt that Zeus had gone too far, but none dared to speak out. Only Hephaestus, who had crafted the chains, and Hermes, who had delivered Zeus's decree, approached Prometheus. You have paid a heavy price for your defiance, Hermes said. Why did you do it, knowing what would come? Prometheus, his voice weak but steady, replied, because it was the right thing to do. They needed hope, and I gave it to them. Legacy Prometheus's sacrifice left a lasting mark on both gods and mortals. For humanity, the fire became a symbol of independence and resilience. For the gods, it was a reminder that their power was not absolute. And for Prometheus, it was proof that even in suffering, there could be meaning. Though bound and tormented, Prometheus became a hero not just to mortals, but to all who believed in justice and the courage to stand against tyranny.